Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Pardon the background noise you're hearing, I'm just getting something else out that I remembered that I needed for the video, and that was pretty quick. Yes, it's about that time once again. Sunday we're going to start the spring campaign, and we're going to do Night of the Zealot. I mentioned this in the recap video, but with the new players in the community, this campaign is going to be more of a learning campaign to help those new players in the community. As such, I'm going to apologize in advance to the veterans who have been around this channel for a while for being much deeper in explanations than I normally would be. But I do want to try to help the newbies in the community make sense of this game with how a turn works. As such, I'm also going to play with a pair of very simple investigators for this campaign. So let's go meet them, and we'll start with our Clover. Our first investigator will be Daisy Walker, the librarian. We featured her for the spring campaign last year, and I don't normally repeat investigators with so many in the game, but as I'm looking to make this more of a learning campaign, I wanted to pick out investigators who are very simple to use. Daisy generally does one thing, and that's gather clues. Now, I normally do go for generalization when playing two-handed solo, but in the name of simplicity, I'm going to pick a pair of specialists. We saw Daisy when we went through the spring campaign last year, but let's go ahead and refresh our memory. So I'm playing all normal Daisy, normal front, normal back. She does have a parallel version, but once again, for simplicity's sake, we're not going to use that side. Daisy Walker, the librarian. Her stat line is 3 will, 5 lore, 2 combat, and 2 agility. Special ability, you may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used on tome action abilities. That's what that arrow indicates. Tome is a keyword you'll see on a lot of Daisy's assets, and actually on her character weakness, but we'll come into that in a minute. Elder Sign effect. When you draw the Elder Sign out of the bag, you get this effect. For Daisy, it's a +0. If you succeed, draw 1 card for each tome you control. I know of books so powerful, they can rewrite reality. 5 health and 9 sanity. Then on the back, we see Daisy has a deck size of 30. Deck building options, Seeker cards level 0 to 5. Mystic cards level 0 to 2. Neutral cards level 0 to 5. Deck building requirements, and these don't count toward deck size. Daisy's tote bag, the Necronomicon John Dee translation, and 1 random basic weakness. Then her flavor text. As a respected librarian at Miskatonic University, Daisy had always felt that books were the most important thing in her life. She explored in fiction what she abhorred in life: horror, violence, fear. Then she stumbled across the John Dee translation of the Necronomicon. It was blasphemous, unholy, and too awful to be real. But given her studies in obscure and occult subjects, Daisy knew there was more truth than fiction within the book's pages. She began to wonder what other secrets the restricted collection of the Orne Library held. Dun dun dun! With that, let's go ahead and take a look at the signature asset for Daisy. We have Daisy's tote bag, which also has a unique star icon on it. It might be a little hard to see. Anything that has that icon on it means there can only be a copy of that card by title. It costs 2 resources to play it. Then the icons down the left are what you get when you commit this to a skill test. You get a will, a lore, and a wild card on commit, so anything you might need for that. Daisy Walker deck only. And you have 2 additional hand slots, which can only be used to hold tome assets. So Daisy wants to be playing a lot of tomes, but we have to be careful because her weakness is also a tome. The Necronomicon John Dee translation. Revelation. So whenever this is drawn, you'll have to do the revelation effect. Put the Necronomicon into play in your threat area with 3 horror on it. It can't leave play while it has 1 or more horror on it. Treat each Elder Sign you reveal on a Chaos token as a tentacle. As an action, we can move a horror from the Necronomicon to Daisy. Then, if the Necronomicon has no horror on it, discard it, and it actually takes the hand slot. So we can use Daisy's special ability on the Necronomicon. There's also an interaction that we can potentially lean into, and we're going to in this campaign. So the Research Librarian is a card in her that I'm taking in her deck. 2 costs, 2 resources to play, agility on commit. And then this is a reaction ability. So after the Research Librarian enters play, search your deck for a tome asset and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So if you look closely at the Necronomicon, you see that it actually is an asset and it goes into her play area, taking up one of her hand slots. So what we can do is we actually have a choice. So if the Necronomicon is still in play at the time we play Research Librarian, we actually can choose to go find the Necronomicon and deal with it early in the scenario before it comes out and causes a lot of problems. So we do have that option available to us. Anyway, that's our Kluver, so now let's go meet our Monster Puncher. Our Monster Puncher for this campaign will be just as simple and just as single-minded in her purpose as Daisy. We're going to use Zoe Samaras on Monster Detail in this campaign. When I run campaigns with Zoe, I tend to use a very simple 4-step plan with Zoe. Step 1, play Sharp Thing. Step 2, wait for Squishy Thing to show up. Step 3, insert Sharp Thing into Squishy Thing. Step 4, repeat Step 3 until Squishy Thing dead. Obviously that's an oversimplified plan with Zoe, but that's kind of the general idea. So let's take a look at Zoe and see why it's such an effective plan. Zoe Samaras, the Chef. 4 will, 2 lore, 4 combat, 2 agility. Zoe wants to be killing things. As a reaction, after you become engaged with an enemy, gain 1 resource. Her Elder Sign effect is +1. If this skill test is successful during an attack, that attack deals +1 damage. God has spoken. I will do his work without hesitation. 9 health, 6 sanity. So let's take a look at the back for Zoe. Like Daisy, deck size of 30. Deck building options. Guardian cards level 0 to 5. Neutral cards 0 to 5. Up to 5 level 0 cards from any other class. Zoe is one of the investigators known as the Dunwich 5. So these are investigators that all splash the exact same way, where they take their respective class, neutral, and then up to 5 level 0 from anything else. And then deck building requirements that don't count toward deck size. Zoe's Cross, Smite the Wicked, and 1 random basic weakness. Zoe had known that she was special ever since God spoke to her one night when she was 6 years old. The night that terrible fire took away her parents, he told her that he had chosen her from among all the people of the world to be his agent. She would protect the innocent and punish the wicked. Since then, he comes to her in times of trouble, offering guidance and comfort. Zoe now travels from city to city, taking work as a chef to support herself. When she isn't working, she stalks the night, guided by the Lord's voice. Wherever she finds wickedness, she strikes it down without remorse or hesitation, which is kind of what we need in this campaign, and to help her out on that, she's got a signature asset as well, Zoe's Cross, symbol of righteousness. 2 combat and a question mark on commit. Zoe Samaras deck only, costs 1 resource to play. Reaction, after an enemy becomes engaged with you, exhaust Zoe's Cross and spend 1 resource. Deal 1 damage to that enemy, and this means it takes the accessory slot. I did forget to mention the Research Librarian for Daisy actually takes up a hand slot, or not a hand slot, an ally slot. The Necronomicon also takes a hand slot. Zoe's personal weakness kind of also fits in with what she's looking to do, aside from the effect that happens if you fail to clear it. So Smite the Wicked. Revelation, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Attach Smite the Wicked to that enemy and spawn it at the location farthest from you. Forced, when the game ends, if attached enemy is in play, Zoe suffers 1 mental trauma, which as you can see, which as you might know with 6 sanity, We can take a little mental trauma, but we want to try to keep that at bay if we can. But that's both of our investigators, so let's move back up top for the tarot reading. The tarot cards, which are right here in shot, came out with Return to the Circle Undone and give you various effects on the scenario. There are several ways you can use the tarot cards for readings. The main ways are a campaign reading, where you'd flip over, where you'd basically draw a card for each scenario in the campaign, not accounting for side stories, and then randomly flip half of those cards. A chaos reading, where you take a random card in a random orientation. A choice reading, where you draw 3 cards and flip 2, or what we're going to use, a balance reading, draw 2 cards and flip 1 of them. Now each side offers you a good and a bad side, and the way you're able to tell what side you're on is if you can read the name of the card, you're on the good side. But if it's upside down to where you can't read it, you're on the bad side. So with that, we'll go ahead and give this a quick shuffle, and we'll get into our tarot reading. So this is going to be the one kind of advanced thing I'm doing with the campaign. So if you're a newbie to the game, feel free to ignore the tarot reading that I'm doing. So anyway, our first card that we have to look at is the Magician 1. Each investigator begins the game with 3 additional resources on the good side, or if we take it on the bad side, each investigator begins the game with 3 fewer resources and can't gain resources during their first turn. Then our second card that we get to look at, the Empress 3. During the first agility test each investigator performs each round, they get +1 agility on the good side, or the bad. During the first agility test each investigator performs each round, they get -1 agility. Given that neither of our ladies has a particularly good agility at, I believe Daisy has, actually I think they both have 2 now that I look. Yeah, they both have 2. And neither one wants to be doing agility tests anyway. We're going to flip the Empress 3. So I'll just make some notes here. Magician 1. Start +3 resources. Then that is Empress 3. First agility test each round. -1. Alright, so I've got all that noted, and that's all ready to go for the first campaign of the first scenario of the campaign, which will come on Sunday, The Gathering. And then Wednesday, we'll have our next play-along video for Welcome To. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.